Dan, if I could start with you. You've seen 3 other presentations this evening.
Yeah.
What's your feedback?
No, it was great. It was really, I was saying to Steve, that clip of Patrick Moore was incredible. Just to acknowledge for just a few moments that time period. It was only 56 years ago that we thought that Mars had life on it still potentially. And I just think that's astonishing that you have people in the room who were alive when we still thought that life was on Mars. And it still could well be. I don't think we can rule that out. And incredible to hear about the stories as well of all of the different people who've had encounters. And I think it's great to see that there is a community that will acknowledge the people who've had these experiences and support them with it, because so many will dismiss these kind of things, and that's just really good to see that.
I also learned that, there were real, like the people being touched in a way. So I read, as in listened, to Ryan's book in the car on the way up from London yesterday, in one go, so I got it kind of more or less. And it was amazing, and it's really, I also say it's very beautifully written. But what is interesting are the people who have had these experiences. I've been into the unexplained and all of that sort of thing my entire life, and I've never actually met anyone who has had that sort of experience. So it was kind of really interesting to go, and here's another, and here's another, and here's another, and here's 3, and here's 17 who all saw it at the same time. So
I do live, breathe, and sleep UFOs. It is my day job, and I feel very fortunate that this thing that fell into my lap when I was 12 years old has become such a passion for so many out there right now. Like we said, UFOs are kind of more accepted now more than ever. But I do go to conferences where I talk to experiencers and witnesses. So I live in that world all the time. But to have you guys give your talks, and Beatrice as well, it only strengthens what I do, which I think is really cool. You started with how vast the universe is. You spoke about, the possibilities of if we should make contact, what are the possibilities of making contact. Beatrice is talking about these papers that she just pre-published, that are going to be going under peer review about what she thinks about have we possibly been visited. And some evidence that she has found could lean that way. So it only strengthens these stories that have come to me. They are just stories. I have no proof or evidence to support all these stories, but there are people in this room who are in my books, and I thank them for being here tonight. That means the world to me, that they would come support my work, and I hope I could give them a platform to just share their stories. So again, everything you gentlemen talked about and Beatrice talked about only keeps me going.
So in 1970, when I was just a teenager, I saw some lights in the sky that were moving across the skyline. And my older brother, who was a scientist and electrical engineer and all sorts of strange things I didn't understand, said to me, "Oh, that was Skylab." Remember Skylab? Yeah. Before the International Space Station. But what I didn't say to my brother was that this thing arcing across the sky then went whoop and disappeared off into the distance, and that was not Skylab. Nobody ever explained to me what that was. Can you?
No.
Reminding us, your pips, Steve, how fast technology has been.
It's going to be amazing for any younger people in the audience to think what in 50 years how it's going to change massively, and I mean absolutely massively. I'm going to have a crack at that.
Oh.
Do you know what panspermia is? Panspermia is a theory that all life on Earth came from elsewhere in the universe, and that it was brought to us by comets, probably with water on them, likely. And so actually we are the aliens, is the theory. So,
that explains everything.
Get away with it. but there is people studying this. Well, how did life on Earth begin? Because no one actually knows how life on Earth began. So that is one theory, is that it was brought to us from outer space, which kind of is logical if you think about it.
Right, I've got the next question, so I think we're just going to actually pass it along after me. I think there are so many questions. I actually agree with that. I think that's the most likely way that we are this unique thing that we are. Anyway, that's not my question. So if you look at the statistics back in time, until about the 1940s and 1950s, people used to report goblins, Spragues, bogles, fairies, all kinds of things. And before that, there were gods and monsters, therianthropes. Before that, when shaman, religious ceremonies drove how people were, people used to, have out-of-body experiences. And then there's near-death experiences and shared death experiences. And then we've got the technology post the Second World War, and we've got suddenly the sighting of aliens. Is it contextually construed? Is that how it works? Is it all the same thing? And I think you make the point that maybe it is all the same thing. Maybe it's all the same experience, the thinning of the veil, whatever it is. What do you think about that, all of you?
So I've had the opportunity several times now to interview Jacques Vallée, who is a computer scientist, what else has he done? A mythologist.
Astronomer, he started off as an astronomer.
I think if you look at a close encounter experience, you do have to contextualize it with a certain culture, with a certain time period, because it can influence the interpretation of what that was. There are many people who, I've spoken to people who believe that their quote-unquote alien abduction experience was demonic. So right there, you're already kind of connecting it to your beliefs, your spiritualism. And I'm not going to take that away from them and tell them, no, that wasn't a demon, it was a gray alien, or vice versa. So I do think it's fascinating that different cultures throughout time have a different way. I mean, if you even look at the cover of this book, it's literally like a gray alien holding the mask of a fairy.
This is Jacques Vallée's book,
And then also the mask of a demon.
It's a classic.
It's fascinating. So I think interpretation has a lot to do with it, and I do think, whether it's the folklore of yesterday, they can connect it to the alien of the present or future.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. Ontological shock.
Nice small topic. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, what's ontological shock?
So an ontological shock is when you're placed in the world, how you see yourself, your upbringing, everything you've been taught. It's a psychological term. It changes. Has your mind changed? Because there's a new year in September with whistleblowers first hand, maybe relating to crash retrieval programs. So this is happening.
Just
Marco Rubio, the current what's he called, the foreign secretary in the United States, he has heard a lot of this testimony as well. The question is, how is your mind? Is it starting to open?
Just to point on Alan Robson, he now makes a living from ghost hunting. So I reckon his mind might have changed, for sure. And I was just saying this actually to Ryan, I think that the scientific community as a whole now is a lot more receptive than we possibly think to the idea that there could be either house-being visitors, there could be life elsewhere in the universe, and more money than ever before is probably being spent, as Steve rightly said as well, on trying to find the existence of life. So I'd say that the stigma will always be there in some respect with some people, but who cares about the stigma is what I would say.
In my book I coined the term, it's a phantom war. People think that the scientists are against the ufologists or the believers, when in reality, everything I do, which is witness testimony, stories like yours, stories like Terry's, it only is strengthened by the possibilities of what is possible in the universe. So I think, as ontological shock is a good way to look at it. I think a lot of people are just scared of change, of this being real, because then, like, you know, Bruno, who was burned at the stake for what he said, there is still a reluctance to believe in something other than ourselves. And once we finally accept that, or are forced to accept that, I think that's the day when ufologists and scientists can finally, you know, cheers the beer together and be like, we were all right.
Yeah. I think it takes a creative mind.
Yeah.
Any science is really creativity, like rightly you say, Giordano Bruno. It starts with this incredibly outlandish idea that can lead you down the garden path to something phenomenal.
I think to answer absolutely directly for me, and the sort of job I do, and what I do, I'm not a scientist, so, you know, I'm not a kind of investigative journalist, I'm a TV, I just make TV programs, right, that's it, like. So for me, it's the evidence, so I just need the big shiny UFO on the lawn of the White House with CNN literally filming the aliens walking out. And then I'll believe.
Above the White House. That's pretty close.
You know, but then I'll believe, you know, because up until you've got that, you don't really have anything. You've got lots of unbelievable stuff. I mean, amazingly unbelievable stories. And you've got lots of theories, and we've all, you know, I will put it out there, like I said, you know, I think it would be insanely weird if the universe is not full of life. Whether it's actually come here in a spaceship, I have to see the spaceship, you know what I mean? Because until I've done that, I'm not going to believe it.
Much of four fascinating presentations this evening, which I found really interesting. This question may sound a little bit sceptical, but it's not meant to be at all. I think what you've proved tonight, beyond any doubt at all, is that UFOs certainly exist, and I think everybody in this theatre will accept that there are things we've seen in the sky that we just can't explain. We don't know what they are or where they come from. So on that case, absolutely proved, I would say. I think I'm probably speaking on behalf of everybody in here tonight. But that's a long stretch, isn't it, from saying, well, we've got UFOs, don't know what they are, what about alien life and ETs? And the point could be made that we've been trying really hard since, I think, 1955 at least, when we saw the lovely Patrick Moore giving his broadcast about life on Mars, probably for a lot longer than that. And we've had, you know, dozens and dozens of really, really clever people spending a lot of money, a lot of resource, and these days, you know, really clever resources, really sophisticated equipment. So, you know, lots of eggheads working really hard to prove that ETs exist and alien life exists. A skeptic would say, well, where's the proof? And what can you say to encourage us to keep on looking and not say, well, because we've got nothing so far, you know, we'll believe what the skeptics say, which is, well, no evidence, doesn't exist. And I don't believe that, and I don't think any of you four do, and I don't think anybody in here does. But how can you encourage us to keep going in the light of the fact that there would seem to be little evidence, little hard evidence at the moment? So I'm looking for encouragement here. I say it sounds a skeptical question, but I'm looking for encouragement.
Well, can I just ask for clarification? There's loads of evidence. So it's like, what when you say hard evidence, what do you mean by hard? What's hard?
Well, something that's beyond question. I mean, if you look at the guy who was at the drive-in, you could pick holes all the way through that. I'm looking for something that you can put in front of people and they say, well, yeah, thank you. That proves to us that there are ETs, there is alien life.
There's a difference between, you know, evidence and proof. And he said basically science never proves anything. You know, like science continues to move forward, and often through questioning, and often where a paradigm break happens is when there's enough anomalies in your data and how things are working that you have to change your whole frame of reference and the way you go forward. Sort of saying, well, what do you mean by evidence? You know, what are you looking for? This vast numbers of credible witness testimony about what people have witnessed, experienced. It's category error to apply this methodology, the particular scientific methodology, to this category of evidence. Anyway.
Yeah, okay, I've got something that I just want to come back on that, if that's all right. I think just with response to your question of why should we still look and stuff, I think one of the things that people often gravitate to is that this is a new thing that we've just decided that we're looking now for UFOs, and it's a relatively new belief. But you can trace this right back to the Babylonians, and then you start to look at things like deities in the sky. These were very similar beliefs. They believed that something lived beyond our atmosphere, and ultimately when we're talking about life elsewhere in the universe, we're talking about things that live beyond our atmosphere. And evidence is a really difficult thing to come across and to really, like you say, find something that you can't pick holes in. Religion is probably one of the biggest examples of that. We've had religions that have lasted thousands of years without any credible evidence, arguably, in some cases. But one of the big things that I think comes from any kind of research like this is the byproduct that we get for technology. For example, did we go to the moon? Whether you believe it or not, we have two-way radios, we have pacemakers, we have new technology that comes as a result of all of these scientific feats that we go to try and answer these questions. So I think that's my response.
I just want to add very briefly to that, because I couldn't agree more. But don't be afraid of investing in technology. So Hubble, amazing. Took another 30, 40 years before James Webb. That's up there now. That's powerful enough to see an exoplanet, as in, with data. Another 30, 40 years, we should have another telescope up there that's very optical, so you might be able to actually see an exoplanet in real life. And so I think, going back to the belief that I've got, which is that there are alien worlds and aliens out there, but we're only going to do it with technology. We're only going to find it by looking for it, I believe, personally. And I think that's why you should sort of keep the belief going, because it's just do you know how many moons? Correct me here, please. How many moons does Jupiter have?
Lots.
Right. No one knows, because we haven't even got the technology to count them. Right. We know there's like 70 odd-ish. And then you keep going, if you look at it, we saw it once in 1972, we've never seen it again, so we don't know if it's a moon or not. And I'm like, it's only, you can see Jupiter, on a clear night, and we don't even know how many bloody moons it's got. That's how you'll find life out there, by just kind of using the tech, I reckon.
I'm glad you brought up James Webb. I mean, since the dawn of time, we've never recorded an interstellar object in our solar system. And in the past year, we've captured 3. So for me, it's only a matter of time before one of those interstellar objects, a lot of them will be asteroids, comets, things like that. But 20 years, 30 years, what if one of them's a spaceship?
So we come back in 20 years' time, and I ask the same question, and you say, funny you should answer that. Here's the evidence, and up comes the screen. Well, let's hope that's right. I really hope so. Thank you. One more question.
Yeah, I've never seen a UFO, or would love to. I've always believed in it. So my question is to you, Brian. Where in the UK am I most likely to see one, and where in the world am I most likely to see one?
Nicole was bringing up, I actually, and I don't know why I didn't put this in my presentation, I've got a handful of cases that happened near Exeter, Newcastle, but you want a really weird place? Bonnie Bridge, Scotland. There's everything you can imagine going on there. Ghosts, phantom dogs, UFOs, Bigfoots. It's crazy. So,
Bigfoot in Scotland.
Yeah. Scottish Bigfoot.
You want to tell people about Hesselin?
Oh yes, Hesselin.
Hesselin, guaranteed Hesselin.
Yeah. They have
Hesselin?
Hesselin, right?
Hesselin. Yeah, it's in Sweden.
Yep. They have a very strange aerial phenomena that occurs constantly. You know, this isn't just a fluke, this strange light phenomenon, which could have explanation someday, does not right now. And it's a very fascinating place.
Yes, I've had scientists, had people there 24 hours, like it's been going on for like how long? Decade?
Yeah, and they've been built, you know, monitoring systems to record it. So again, that's what gives me hope. Like you mentioned, you know, they're always ahead of our technology. So if whatever technology is being displayed by a quote-unquote UFO, I think it gives us hope for our own future and our own ambitions to continue exploring the cosmos and see if there are aliens out there. But a lot of people do believe they have come here. And I'm going to tell their stories, and hopefully one day there will be a convergence between the witness testimony and the science.
So when I see one, I know who to get in touch with.
Exactly. Please reach out to me. You know.
Lots of people put their hands up when Ryan asked the question, how many of you, what was the question exactly you asked, Ryan?
How many people have seen something in the sky they cannot explain?
So I was quite intrigued by the fact, or we were intrigued by the fact that maybe many of you put your hands up were from Hexham. We want to do this festival again next year, and it would be really great if you can come to us either through our website, cosmicfrequencies.org, and message us, and we'd like to maybe get a few of you together, and if you're willing to tell your stories and weave that into next year's festival and have a really local perspective. And you can see that we're quite a creative bunch, so you know, we do it in a respectful and interesting way, but definitely give you a platform to tell your stories and have a very local perspective on people's experiences. So contact us if you raised your hand and you're local. And we'd like to have some of your stories told if you're willing.
We are going to have a play-out song by SKX Funkanauts. Can I just ask you all to put your hands together for our excellent panel?